Welcome, everybody, to Dan Excelsior, the Mostly Marvel show. I'm your host, Ricky. With me, as always, we got Dennis.
I promise I'm not AI.
Someone say you were AI?
No.
Oh.
So it's just some of the comments sometimes are like, why do they use so much AI? Like, in our videos. And then somebody was clever enough to reply, I'm pretty sure they're real. But they were referring to our little clips.
Yes.
The funniest thing I saw was they said, why use AI for such a small time podcast? And I'm like, would you rather we hire artists and or pay licenses?
Sink more money into this?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Like, you guys do know that the AI is the cheapest solution, right? Like to fill it in with beautiful graphics and stuff like that. So
I don't think. I mean, that's not to say do not pay your artists, but
yeah,
have staff artist.
I'm just saying, if you're accusing us of being small time, then shouldn't we be pinching our pennies wherever we can?
I'm just saying, yeah. If you work the math backwards on our Patreon subscribers, you can see how much, how badly we need the AI.
I just think it's so funny how much time people spend criticizing how we produce our content, rather than just telling us whether or not you like our content. If you don't
I would like to graduate from using AI and then swap that for cheap labor overseas to edit our videos. That is the next step.
Cool.
But we got to start somewhere.
Yeah, and it just takes a few more of you just commenting how much you hate us on the algorithm, and then eventually it'll just start snowballing. So
yeah,
but yeah, no, my response to that question was, because I love seeing your wonderful comments. I don't know what happened after that, but yes,
we're talking about Iron Man 2, ladies and gentlemen.
We are talking about Iron Man 2, but we're also going to talk about a couple other things, right?
Yeah, there's some Spider-Man mixed in.
We're going to talk about the first two episodes of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man that came out yesterday.
The woke Spider-Man show.
And then I will give you my update on Harley Quinn real quick.
Oh my god!
Don't do the dog whistle without adding the context. All right, look, we do not agree with the comments made by the guy playing Peter Parker in the new show, Hudson Thames, I think it is. I almost don't want to remember his name, because
the What If guy. He did the What If. He's the What If Spider-Man voice too.
Yeah, so I don't expect him to be the voice for much longer, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. The guy had some choice words to say the day before the show came out, and I've been honestly spending way too much of the last 2 days thinking about what he said, and it hurts my brain, because it's either incredibly moronic or incredibly not cool, like one of the two. You know what I mean? And I can't decide which one it is that he's really trying to say, but yeah, we'll talk more about that later. But before we even get into other stuff, I will let you know I watched the new episodes of Harley Quinn today. Just to give you an update, Clayface came back. It was cute. He was funny. Poison Ivy also has to fight her new villain that she created, the Floronic Man. He's from the comics.
It sounds familiar.
He's basically got Poison Ivy's powers, but he's way uglier. And he wants to kill her. And then thankfully, Harley gets the assistance of Frank. Frank comes back. So JB's move comes back to help. And they end up supposedly killing the Floronic Man. But at the end of the episode, there's a little teaser. They suddenly, after they resolve that issue, then they get captured and taken aboard Brainiac's ship. So there you go. That's the cliffhanger for next week. I still don't love the show, but I do, and so that's why I keep watching it. But there was one funny joke in there that it stuck with me for a while. Somebody was walking by and asked the question, hey, are you thinking what I'm thinking? And the other guy says, why did we domesticate cats instead of raccoons? And I couldn't stop thinking about that for a while now. Like,
you can start.
Have you ever seen?
I would argue that raccoons are more domesticated than other animals.
They are, but like, have you seen how dexterous they are with those fingers,
yes.
those hands? They're like little monkeys. They're like monkeys.
Have you not seen a raccoon like ever?
I have. I'm saying I am perplexed by the notion that we chose as a race. We chose cats over raccoons.
You remember
raccoons are awesome, man.
Well, in the grand scheme of history, raccoons are an American, like the continent of America thing. So Europe did not know about the raccoon for a long ass time.
We still got to get cracking on domesticating these things because it's amazing. If anybody in the comments has a pet raccoon, please let us know. Send us pics. That was my big takeaway from Harley Quinn. Other than that, it was a May episode.
Right.
Yeah, but I just wanted to give you that update so it's officially out there. I know you're not watching the show. I know you've given up on it completely. I'm still checking in once a week just to give it it's my attention because I am not biased. I know it's the mostly Marvel podcast, but I watch any and everything DC as well, always. It's just the rule. It's my rule.
Anything else? What else have you watched?
What else have I watched?
Or what else? Yeah, what else have you watched?
I've been finishing up season 3 of Daredevil once again because I just really wanted to be fresh for Born Again when it comes back. That is an amazing
season 3. I've not seen season 3 of that show.
Wow,
I don't want to.
Oh my god, why? Why don't you want to?
I don't want the baggage.
What do you mean the baggage? Season 3 is the best. It's the best season.
Yeah, but I don't want the baggage going and tainting my
it doesn't make everything you're saying doesn't make any sense. There are
because it's a sequel series, but it's not a sequel series. It is, but it isn't.
I think
I don't want to watch stuff that doesn't matter.
I don't think you can say that without watching the season to know how much of it is a sequel or not.
Yeah, so I'm willing to take that risk that it's not.
But like Bullseye is a character that's introduced in season 3, and they bring that actor back. And his story is continuing from season 3.
A version of a Bullseye is coming back. That is
the actor who played Bullseye.
It's reprising his role. It's the same shit. They pulled this card before. I'm not to act like it's new.
What do you mean they pulled this card before?
Everything. Evan Peters is back in WandaVision.
Everything that happened in She-Hulk does not contradict anything that happens in season 3 of Daredevil.
I didn't say it did.
So, there's been no contradiction to this point other than, the weird awkwardness of Echo. But honestly, the same thing happened in the comics. Echo's just she's just
I don't need to see season 3.
You should watch show. No, this is dumb. This is dumb because now you're not saying I don't want to see season 3 because I want to ruin this other show. You're saying I just never watched season 3 and I'm not going to do it now, which is dumb because season 3 of Daredevil was awesome. It was super awesome. And if you're doing the Mostly Marvel podcast, how are you not watching the good stuff? Why are you skipping on the good stuff? I get why you don't want to watch Harley Quinn. I get why. Yeah, but what?
You say that as if watching a season of a series is just a small ask.
It is. I have somebody that I was talking to last week, and I told her, it was hilarious because she was saying how much she loved Daredevil back in the day, and she was like, it was so sad how it ended, and I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, when he died, and I'm like, he didn't die, and she's like, yeah, when the building fell on him. I was like, that's the Defenders. I was like, there was an entire other season of the show, right? And she didn't somehow, she's a mom of like 5 people, so she didn't know that. And so I was like, you need to watch season 3 before the new one comes out, and because she was excited about that. And she's like, yeah, I don't know when I'll find the time. That was Friday. Yesterday morning, she's like, I finished all of it. And I was like,
It sounds
so
like
I'm
an
just
irresponsible parent.
I'm just saying, if a parent of 5 children can find the time, I think it is a small ask, I think it is. If you really like Daredevil.
Who said I got Netflix anymore?
You got
Nah.
Netflix. Don't lie to me.
I got Netflix
Also,
for
you
the
don't
ads.
need Netflix. Dumbass, it's not on Netflix.
Is it on Plus?
Yes, it's on Disney
Oh.
Plus.
Yeah.
What are you saying? It's like we just, like all the content we watch is on Disney Plus, and it's like,
I'm not gonna. I don't think I'm gonna watch it.
I'm
not.
Like, how many excuses can you make not to watch that show?
Enough to not watch it.
Why do you not want to watch something awesome? I don't get it.
I don't want to go back. Go
what
forward.
Do you don't want to go get
always
back?
Move forward. I'll watch what I need to watch. I've seen the end of that show. It was cool when Bullseye throws a stapler.
Oh my god, like, you're killing me. You're killing me. Like, people in the comments, tell him how ridiculous this is that he's gonna watch Daredevil Born Again next month, but refuses to watch season 3 of Daredevil.
Yeah.
Please tell us. That
Don't
makes
tell
no
us.
sense. Don't tell us?
Don't tell us.
What? All right. Well, I've been watching that. I also decided to actually read some comics recently. Like, I picked up I started reading Ultimate Spider-Man, the new one.
People
the
like
new version of it. Yeah. I didn't know how I felt about it at first.
You're reading it on Unlimited?
Yeah. I didn't know how I felt about it at first. There were things I really liked. I think I get a little fatigued from starting over with Spider-Man again and again. So I at least appreciated that this story was a 30-year-old Spider-Man. It's pretty cool. Like, 30-something. He's got kids. He's got Mary Jane and stuff.
Those kids are back.
But I don't think I liked the baggage of it being connected to the previous Ultimate Universe in a weird way. Like, I don't like. Here's my thing. I know it's a hot take. I'm not a big fan of Jonathan Hickman. I just don't like something about his.
I like his
stories.
Fantastic Four.
It's
I
okay.
like his Doom.
I don't really love his Doom. I think it's.
I like his Doom in relation to Reed.
I like Mark Miller's better.
Mm-hmm.
I like Mark Wade's better. I like just anybody named Mark. I like better.
So you don't like Jonathan Hickman? What you're saying?
I'm not a giant fan of Jonathan Hickman's work in the way that most people who read Marvel nowadays are. I don't know. It just feels a little.
Do you like his X-Men?
No. I definitely didn't like AVX. I wasn't a big fan of AVX. I do appreciate that he's making choices that take these stories in different directions. Wait, did he write Powers of X and House of X?
Right? He did all the right.
Okay, I do like that miniseries. I do like the miniseries. I do. I think that was a huge undertaking. I think I just don't like his Avengers stuff and like all the other stuff. So he's also writing Ultimate Spider-Man, and it's I don't know. It's just a little slow pace for me. Like, it's a little too slow. Like, I get that they're trying to like take their time with stuff, but like, that's a 45-page comic book, and he's Spider-Man in one panel of it at the very end. Like, and it's like, come on, man. Like, this. Let's pick up the pace here, So yeah, it's okay. I'll keep reading it. I read 3 issues of it. It doesn't. I feel like sometimes it's really hard for Marvel to break away from the tried and true. Like these are the things that have to keep happening, and like I just kind of want to see like I want to see these characters put in really ridiculous different situations. You know what I mean? Like what? Like if it's gonna be the ultimate, like make it ultimate. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Does that make sense? It just doesn't. Like I feel like we use that word too
I mean, that's a comic
freely,
word,
too
but
too liberally. You know?
yeah.
Like how do we have another ultimate after the ultimate? Like literally, it means last. Like that's what it means. Like so, I get it though. It's just
It's not your Ultimate Spider-Man.
it
It's
loses its meaning. It loses.
you already
Its meaning.
got one. It's for the kids.
It's for the kids. Yeah, I mean that's what I feel. Like Jonathan makes me feel old. He
Good.
makes me feel old. Yeah, is that good?
Is that good?
You're the one that said good.
Good.
All right. What do you got? I've been talking.
I got nothing. Between this week and last. No, I got nothing. I mean, we can talk about Spider-Man now once we're on the Spider-Man train.
If you want to, I'm down. Like
All right.
I watched it. I watched it
Your
twice.
friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Episode premiered yesterday. It's a 10-episode series. We've got 2. I think there's like doing 2 or 3 a week for the next couple weeks.
Yeah, it's only 4-week run, right? I wasn't expecting that. Yeah.
It is. What was the last Spider-Man animated show?
Marvel Spider-Man. Unless you count Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
No. But Marvel Spider, that's people like that one, right?
I liked it. I liked it. I eventually like all of them, usually. It doesn't always happen right away. I will say that. Like sometimes it's a little hard. I don't love the 90s one. I was going to say original. That is not the original. I don't love the 90s one, primarily because I do not like Christopher Daniel Barnes as Peter Parker. I think they went too hard on the inner monologue. So you just have to hear that guy talking as much as I talk right now. I
feel like that's less of a Spider-Man thing and more of any hero show of that age.
That's a Spider-Man thing for sure. Like you don't get inner monologue in Batman cartoons or X-Men cartoons. That's a Spider-Man thing. And in fairness, it's common in his comics, but like I appreciate that like your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man decided just to not have it at all. And so you don't get to know what Peter's thinking until he says it out loud. You know, I think that's really cool. Like I think honestly, there was a really beautiful Save the Cat moment in the first episode where he captures a woman who tried to rob I think it was a convenience store or something like that. I don't remember what it was. And he, you know, this could go one of two ways for sure, at least. And he actually begs the store owner to have some leniency on her because she's in bad times right now. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't that she's an evil person and he got that from her, you know, like, and I thought that was really awesome that all just came out of his dialogue and there was no internal struggle that we got to know about.
She looks like she's struggling.
Right? You know what I mean? Like it just worked and it made the pace of that moment happen fast. Like it was a little jarring. I didn't expect it, but I loved it, you know, and I appreciate it because I like to be surprised by what Spider-Man's going to do. Just like, I mean, I know it's in character of Spider-Man to care about the people, you know, like he's arresting or whatever. Like, so I'm not like super surprised, but I'm saying like, it was a nice moment that like I got to feel with the store owner at the same time, as opposed to like, oh, I think I should ask the store owner to let her go. You know what I mean? And then he does the thing. Like that's the difference between like the older cartoons versus this one. And I think that's a really positive thing to have happening in this because that's what Tom Holland does, right? We don't get to hear the inner thoughts of Tom Holland. Not yet, but it's great. It works, like, and it doesn't mean that he has to talk more so that we understand where he's coming from. It just means we have to be a little bit more intuitive about what's happening. And I think that if we lean on the animation, what we're seeing happening, the visual cues that they're giving us, if they're coherent enough, we're gonna get the full picture of the story. And I think on second viewing of this show, I really did appreciate those things a lot more. Like, I appreciated all the little things that the visuals were giving us to tie in with those moments of silence that we weren't hearing Spider-Man's inner monologue, and I liked it. I liked it a lot. Like, the first time around, I'll be honest, I was grumpy. I was grumpy the first time I watched it, but I know it's because of Hudson Thames. Because that little prick had the nerve to go on a Collider magazine interview and say his greatest fear for the show, I'm quoting him, was that it was going to be annoying and woke. And like, I guess he was comforted to find out it wasn't, I guess. Is that from his point of view?
I mean, to be fair, it's not like his position on that statement. It's like weird. It's
one. Okay, let's just get the address the elephant in the room. I get really upset every time the word woke is used in a negative connotation, because the word literally means socially conscious. It means accepting that other people in this world exist and their experiences may be different than yours, and they also matter. And I think that's a really horrible thing to put a negative connotation on. Like, so when you put it in the same sentence as annoying, you say annoying and woke.
Yeah.
Like, what?
It's not good. It's not a good look, and it's not a good look for when you play a Spider-Man,
when you play
a Batman, there's just a certain.
It's a little more appropriate for Batman, but
you gotta. It's not enough just to be an actor and playing those roles. Whether you want to or not, you're signing up, and you're signing up for more.
And if people care about the thing you're doing, they're going to go and read your interviews. They're going to go and learn about the kind of person you are. And I'm not saying you have to be a freaking superhero all the time, but you need to remember that people are really hanging on the words you're saying. And
Zachary Levi waited till he was done playing Shazam to say shitty things.
Yeah, or they just keep Chris Pratt like locked away so he can't say shitty things. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, it's a rough thing to hear, and so it was really rubbing the wrong way. Is I'm watching the show, and I really don't care who I'm pissing off in this moment. It's woke as fuck. It's quite woke, and I love it for that. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't say it's woke, but I'm not going to define it as woke.
I define woke as a good thing. Just to
I'm not saying that as if it's a bad thing for not being.
They include Nico Minoru very quickly, and they establish that she is a queer character very quickly in that show. They then let you meet Lonnie Lincoln, and at a certain point in the show, it's a really interesting choice. The protagonist perspective switches, and we're no longer following Peter Parker. We're following Lonnie as he goes home, as he makes a long trek home to Harlem, and you watch.
Who is he in? Is he's the known Spider-Man?
Can I get back to that one in a minute? Because
sure,
because that's one of my fun things about the whole show. Everybody's somebody in the show. Everybody. But when we're watching him get back home,
you get to see this. You see what it's like for a black kid to walk home in the city.
Yeah, you get to see systemic racism.
A black man with outwardly presenting, he has dreads. He's dressing his own way. For better or for worse, you're gonna have a different experience walking home than someone else.
He's on the subway, and a child goes up to him, and the mother pulls the kid away from him. He's walking home, and a cop is slowly like tailing him just
Yeah.
to see what he's up to. You know what I mean? And like, and you see these things, and you see the condition of the neighborhood he lives in. You see all these things, and you're wondering, okay, why are we doing this? And then you realize it's just because it's important to see other people's lives. It's important to see how
Mhm.
people live. You know, there's nothing beyond that. He goes home, and you know what? He has a happy, loving family. He still like finds a way to live his life in a, you know, and be positive. And that's what we're all trying to do, right? We're all trying to find a
Mhm.
way to like survive this world that we live in and be happy. And so I think it's incredibly woke to take the time to focus on something like that and show that to your audience, knowing that the show is called Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, but we're going to take a few minutes out of that time to not focus on Spider-Man. And like I was very happy to see that kind of stuff because it's baked into the DNA of Spider-Man. Like
Mhm.
Spider-Man has always had a diverse, I mean, maybe not the first like 15 issues or something like that. It's you know what I mean? But like, you know, like there's always a push to try and make sure that New York is properly represented as the melting pot that it is. Like every culture ever lives in New York.
Mhm.
And so I really appreciate that this time around they're swinging big and they're saying like, you know what, like everybody in the show is somebody from the comics, but they're also they happen to be a diverse collection of characters from the comics, you know. So I do. That's my argument. I think it is woke, and it was pissing me off that he was saying he's
Mhm.
happy that it wasn't woke, because I'm like, but it's very woke. Like it's very woke. So what's like? So are you just is it a dog whistle? Are you just letting your friends out there know, hey, I'm like you, or are you just
Well,
that
if he
dumb?
says, what if he's playing like 4D chess? He's saying the show's not woke, and you're saying it is, but he's like baiting people who wouldn't watch it because it's woke into watching the woke show to maybe they'll learn like a lesson. I don't know.
You know
His
what?
comments are
You know
dumb, and
what?
I don't think you should weigh it should weigh that much.
And I agree.
Yeah,
I
because
do
the show,
agree
I
with
think the
you.
show's good. The show is good. The show's
And
good
that's why
for those scenes in particular. I think it's cool that we're at this weird, uh, what's the word? Circular for six, not circular. We're at this weird point where, like, you know, MCU was influenced by the comics, and now comics are now quote unquote influenced by the MCU, and now we're kind of seeing that translated into the show where it's not a direct parallel, but this does kind of echo the beginning of
Homecoming.
Homecoming, you know, and kind of
Or
really,
actually Civil War when we first
or Civil
began, right?
War, yeah. There's some
Yeah.
really neat parallel scenes, and they even use the same music and use the same framing for some of it too. Um, and I think that's a cool point that like we're getting back to like this weird self-referential era in the MCU where, like, you know, some of these kids, that is their Spider-Man. You got to think of it like,
Yeah.
when did Civil War come out? What is that? 2015?
Something like that. Yeah. 2015.
So 10-year-old kids. There's a whole like generation of kids who've never seen Uncle Ben die. They know
Yeah.
it. They know he's
Yeah.
dead.
Yeah.
Um,
I actually don't remember. Well, because you got to remember, Marvel Spider-Man was on TV between 2015 and now.
yeah,
Uh, I cannot remember if Uncle Ben dies in Marvel Spider-Man, though. That's a tough one. I
yeah.
definitely don't remember him dying in Ultimate Spider-Man, but they might have done a flashback. I think they did. They do a scene. They do an episode where he gets to talk with Uncle Ben's ghost, I think. But
Mhm.
Marvel Spider-Man, I'm not sure if it happens. So you could be right. You could be right, but it's possible they have
But
seen it. You know.
regardless if there is or isn't, the Uncle Benness of his character is shifted a little bit. It's it's that part of his origin I feel like is slightly different now. where it's less about Peter's burden for not saving him, and more or less about he's just losing a family member.
Yeah, but I think whatchamacallit, Into the Spider-Verse is also and Beyond the Spider-Verse has also done some heavy lifting, right? To let us understand that, like, look, every Spider-Man has a canon event. Like,
yeah,
it's not always the same canon event, but like they all got one, like, and so I think that removes the burden of it has to be Uncle Ben. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
we just know.
He just loses a loved one, and now it's not even tied to the point where he can lose Uncle Ben before or after the powers, right?
Right.
His Uncle Ben's teachings transcend superheroes or
the lesson of great power and great responsibility being intertwined is it transcends just the character of Uncle Ben. Yes.
Yep.
You're correct. So
for that, I really do like this show. For it feels fresh. We got a Doctor Strange in there with fighting a symbiote. That was kind of a neat little touch, and see the spider come from there. I didn't like it for first, but I really do like Coleman Domingo's Harry Osborn or
Norman Osborn.
Norman Osborn. I like his like William Dafoe-esque voice that he's doing. It finally makes it not weird for him to not have waves with his hair.
The hair has finally been justified, and I gotta say, I kind of love it. Like I spent like 5 minutes showing my wife old pictures of
I was telling Selena, I was like, his hair is the same in all the comics as he looks now.
Exactly like Norman Osborn. It's just they did a color shift a little bit, you know what I mean? Yeah, and it's awesome. But the hair didn't shift color at all. There's still red
the hair
highlights.
Is the same exact
There's
hair.
still red highlights in certain scenes of that show. Yeah. No, it's perfect. Like I really don't mind it at all. I don't mind the gender swap on Dr. Connors. I did get weirded out that Dr. Connors' focus, her scientific focus, was on creating renewable energy. I was like, that's a stretch from growing a new arm back. So I don't understand how we're gonna get there. Maybe we don't.
A season three problem.
So, like, you've been reassigned. You no longer work on the renewable energy department. Yeah, maybe, who knows? No, I like. So yeah, here's the funny thing about the show. Like, we've been kind of dancing around it. You were saying how some stuff threw you off at first, and I said the first time I watched the show, I was grumpy because I think I was letting that stupid Collider interview get to me too much, right? I was thinking about it too much and looking just for the woke parts or the parts that would trigger people that don't like to see that kind of stuff. And it wasn't letting me just enjoy the show. So I rewatched it again today, and I freaking loved it. I loved it so much more because I just watched it for the sake of being a Spider-Man fan that just wants to see, Spider-Man like on display the way properly, and so this time around, I was like, yesterday I was rolling my eyes at like, oh God, so like everybody is somebody, like everybody's somebody in the show. And then like today I'm like, yeah, everybody's somebody, like every Spider-Man comic ever. Like, that's what happens. It's always like, I just got done telling you that I've been reading Ultimate Spider-Man. Guess what? Everybody's somebody in that one too. Like, that's how it works. It's just this time around, the creators of the show chose a lot more modern somebodies for most of the characters, because a lot of the modern characters are more diverse. You know what I mean? So like it just kind of helps. Like, but yeah, I have a laundry list of all the characters. If you would like to know any of them, who they are. I know you asked me first, who's Lonnie Lincoln? That one's a bit of a head scratcher for me because he's Tombstone. He's Tombstone and a mob boss who's an albino.
Yes.
So
he's also a good mechanic. So I guess that tracks. He fixes his mom's car.
He's a bully in high school, and so like they're very much going the antithesis of Tombstone in this show. You know what I mean? Like it's hard for me to see how he could ever become Tombstone. But then I'm like, does he have to be? Can't he be somebody? Can't he just not be Tombstone? Like, so that's what I'm trying to like wrestle with in my head is like, just because their names are the same, does it mean that like in every universe they are destined to become these characters? That's why I was joking about Carla Connors. I was like, is she destined to become the lizard just because she's missing an arm and she's a scientist? Like, does she have to do that? I don't know. Would I be upset if we went 5 seasons with Dr. Carla Connors just hanging out there not being a lizard? Maybe I would. And is that on me or is that on the show? You know what I mean? I can't tell. But yeah, so I'm kind of, it's an internal debate I'm having with every character. But yeah, Lonnie Lincoln is Tombstone. How do you feel about that?
That's fine. I'm not. I don't need a Tombstone, but I don't not need a Tombstone.
How do you feel about Nico Minoru?
That's fine.
I
She's
mean,
from the Runaways, right?
You should
Yeah.
know, yeah.
Yeah.
She was first introduced in the Runaways, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She's a cool character. I think that I've been seeing her pushed out there outwardly by Marvel a lot more than all the other Runaways. She became a big character in the comics, like in the whole magic realm. I think she was a student of Doctor Strange's for a little while in the comics. Like, this is post Runaways, Nico.
Mm-hmm.
She was also a character included in the Marvel Midnight Suns video game. And I'm trying to think of where else I've seen her recently. But yeah, she's cool. Would not have been my fifth or eighth guess for Peter Parker's best friend in high school.
Well, she was supposed to be. There were some notes. She was going to be Jessica Jones.
Yep.
Yeah, and that got switched up.
Yeah, I heard about that too, and honestly, that tracks a lot closer because Jessica Jones actually had a crush on Peter Parker in high school. Mm-hmm. They were in the same grade in high school, in the comics, and so when I heard that, I was like, oh, that would have been cute. But then I could see how, like, on paper, like, hey, if you find out, oh, I can go watch Jessica Jones on Disney Plus, then you go turn that on. You're like, whoa, like, so I get it. Like, maybe Nico was probably a better choice for sure. So yeah, she would become a magic user, very strong magic character in the Marvel universe, and so maybe that will happen to her in the show. Maybe not. Who knows? It's hard to say. Let's see who else. Pearl Panagin, or Pangan. Pearl Pangan. That is Wave.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be a freak accident. There'll be some swimming involved. There'll be some water, some chemicals. Next thing you know, she can control water. That's Wave. That is the girl that Peter has a crush on currently in the show. She is his ex-babysitter or former babysitter. Let's see who else. When in the second episode, he meets his lab mates, I guess, like in his internship at Oscorp.
Yeah,
Amadeus Cho, who has been featured in several previous Spider-Man shows. Actually,
he might be in the MCU here soon.
He might be. Amadeus Cho was in Ultimate Spider-Man, the cartoon, and I'm pretty sure he was in Marvel's Spider-Man as well. So they definitely love to keep putting him in there as that character that's around Peter's age. He could potentially one day become the totally awesome Hulk, which is like the second character to be a Hulk, I guess. Or he might not. He might just be Amadeus Cho. He just might be super smart for all we know. Asha, the Wakandan character, she eventually gets superpowers. Her name is just Asha. And she has the power to absorb light in a variety of manners. But yeah, she's a superhero character as well. Jean Foucault is, in the comics, a character who's currently known as Finesse. She the easiest way to put this is there's rumors that Taskmaster is her dad, and she has his powers. She can do all the things. She can do. She can just mimic whatever.
Just copy him. Oh.
Yeah. That's it. That's what she has. She's been a member of AIM, so she's more likely, in the comics to become possibly a villain, possibly an anti-hero kind of character. But they can't all be good guys. Just like their I guess assigned mentor Bentley Whitman. He is the wizard, or just wizard. He's a villain of the Fantastic Four. He's like one of their oldest villains. This guy's from like 1962.
Well, that's the other point of the show too. That's kind of neat. Is there's also other heroes and villains that are also doing their stuff. So it's not weird that there's a Spider-Man out there. It takes away the weirdness of like people getting powers or just super powerful beings. Just
for sure. He's not the one and only. You know what I mean? Like we saw a picture of Captain America hanging out with Norman Osborn on the wall. We've seen an Iron Man
Doctor Strange is there.
Yeah, we've seen like an Iron Man little toy dangling from Aunt May's rearview mirror. It's a world where the fantastical kind of stuff exists. Butane was a character from like a long time ago. In the I think he first appeared. I guess not that long. 1993 in Excalibur. But I'm not sure if this is the same Butane or what. But like, he was the guy lighting fires, hilariously burning down the wrong building. There's little bits of humor here and there that I kind of enjoy. I wouldn't say every joke lands like every time. I do have my complaints as well. I do think I love the visual style of the show, but I think the animation is
this show looks great paused, but not great in motion.
Right? Okay. I'm not the only one.
There's nothing going on in the background.
Yeah. I would not let you talk shit about X-Men 97 because I thought that show was beautiful. But this one feels a little weird, right? When they're moving, like the motion feels off.
It feels like there's a certain weightlessness in some scenes because I think some scenes are animated really well. Like when he's fighting in the pet store, I thought that looked really good.
That scene is awesome, man.
But other scenes, he just feels very airy in terms of how he moves.
Yeah, I feel it.
And it doesn't help. Again, the backgrounds are very static.
Yeah,
and intentional. It's a part of the art style, but it just
when they're like flipping TV channels and every channel is static. Yeah,
I do like how it's it kind of cuts into panels a little bit, and the way they kind of transition from scene to scene is a little interesting sometimes. But
I like it because it's classier than the way Ang Lee did it in Hulk.
Yes, but it definitely does look. It looks a little jank.
I'm not going that far. I'm just saying it looks a little off-putting. Okay, but yeah,
I think we like the show though.
I think I do. Yeah, I think I'm really happy. I rewatched everything with some rose-colored glasses and just allowed myself to like enjoy being in another Spider-Man world, and that's why I was like, maybe I won't go so hard on Jonathan Hickman, and when I go back to revisit some more Ultimate Spider-Man, I'll just be like, okay, yeah, it's just everybody gets their own chance to tell a Spider-Man story, and as long as they nail the core of the character and make you feel like how he feels like when he's down on his luck all the time or when things just can't go right for him, like I'm down. And so far I think after 2 episodes, he's definitely burdened by life, and he's constantly screwing up, and that's what I want to see out of Spider-Man. So yeah, I mean, Norman Osborn knows he's Spider-Man at the end of the second episode. So spoilers, by the way. That's really rough. That's rough for him. I don't know.
He Spider-Man inside his building. That's kind of dumb.
It's super dumb. But that's what Spider-Man does. He doesn't always have the best judgment sometimes. You know what I mean?
Well, shall we move on from
Spider-Man? You should.
To an Iron Man.
I'm gonna assume you didn't have any news.
We're running on time.
I know.
So.
I figured. Just curious, what was the news you were gonna give us?
I'm not gonna say because we're running on time.
Fine. All right. What if I told you that I just rewatched Iron Man 2 for the first time in many, many years, and I still love it, and I have nothing bad to say about it, and I know people will troll me in the comments. I love this movie. I never get tired of this movie. Everything about it is awesome. The end.
Okay, that's our show, ladies and gentlemen.
Seriously though, like here's my thing, and I don't even need to talk more about the show, the movie besides this. Here's my thing. This movie delivered on it gave me I know what I'm gonna say. All right. The first movie is an Iron Man standalone movie, right? That's the job of it. It's like, hey, we got to make people like Iron Man because we don't know if we're going to get to do this.
It's a new thing,
right? That is not what the second movie is, and that's not even the job of the second movie. The second movie is not Iron Man 2. It's Iron Man issue 2 of a long ongoing series. And that is what it's set up to be, right? It's set up to be like, okay, you clearly like this. We're going to start telling you Iron Man stories for a while. And I got that promise the second they got to Monaco. When they got to Monaco at the Grand Prix, and Happy hands Iron Man the suitcase, and we saw something that I never thought I'd see in an Iron Man movie. We saw the suitcase transformation, and we saw the suit that comes from that, and it looks very different from the Iron Man that we've seen before. And you know what? That suit lasts all of 5 minutes before it just gets wrecked. And then for the rest of the movie, he's back in the red and gold, and that's fine. But what was important for me is that promised me, we know there's way more Iron Man suits, and we know there's way more Iron Man transformations. And if you stay with us long enough, you're going to get them. And because of that promise that they deliver in that scene of that movie, I'm fine with everything else that happens in that.
I don't know if you ever got the 90s show animation where the helmet floats.
Oh, I mean, Mark 43, all the pieces fly to him, dude. Every flies to him separately. But do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I got promised that I'm going to get so much more
it's
Iron
the
Man
first
forever.
sequel in the MCU.
Yes.
And it to your point, it's not necessarily at this point it's known, right? We're getting other things. This movie, I think, filmed pretty much concurrently with Thor, Cap, and then Avengers is all kind of back to back to back. But to your point, yeah, it really is just like, this is the next page of the Tony Stark story. Not like I think there is a time gap though, right? For a little bit in that movie, like
6 months.
6 months. Like, but it's not nothing crazy like has happened. Like, right? It's like,
yeah,
it is just literally the next little slice of chapter in Tony's life.
Well, we've seen the repercussions of an Iron Man existing in that world, right? We've seen that now, just like when Batman begets Joker in the Batman Begins movie, and Iron Man begets a whole lot of other crazy machine people getting made. You know what I mean? Because like everybody, it's an arms race. Yeah. And that's fine. It doesn't have to be much more than that. In the background of like one of the last scenes of the episode of the movie. See, I want to call it an episode. In the last scene of the movie, you do see the university or disaster at university or Culver University or whatever, like incident. So there's a reference to the Hulk. So the Hulk has just happened during or towards the end of this movie. So yeah, nothing crazy in their universe exists outside of Iron Man for the better part of this movie. And so it's mostly just, what's Tony doing? What's Tony going through since the events of the last movie? And that's fine for me. Like, I don't need it to be like, again, we're escalating still slowly, right? Like we're still not saving the world. We're saving a small group of people right now. And
Right. He's not doing anything outside of what Tony would or should be doing.
right. He does believe that he's privatized world peace. And I think that's cute. I
That
think
Senate
that's
hearing's a great theme.
that Senate hearing is amazing. Gary Shandling kills it in that movie.
R.I.P.
Yes, R.I.P. But yeah, to go back to what you're saying. So like this is where we are in this movie. So like we're getting that's page 2 or issue 2, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And so like how do you feel about this movie, knowing that like now watching it that you get so much more Iron Man?
You do? I will argue there's a promise in this movie that they make that everyone is 10, 15 years out from a Iron Man suit in this movie. They make that point, and Tony at some point acknowledges that as well. Like, yeah, it's gonna happen. I don't think we've gotten a good follow up to that yet. I know they're trying to make it right now with Armor Wars, but that's my only really big gripe with this movie is like, man, that payoff of that line.
Well, Ironheart exists.
Correct, but like adversaries, that's what I'm talking. Like they specifically mention like everyone's 10, 15 years away from this type of tech. And
yeah, I mean, essentially Armor Wars for sure exists, but I think you could argue that the events of Age of Ultron possibly deterred other nations from what I mean, pursuing that course of action. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, but I don't think we're that far off. And I do think Ironheart exists. And I think the implication is like, if a teenage girl is able to make that now, we're probably closer than ever.
Well, it also, I mean, this movie does a lot of easing too of like, okay, there's an Iron Man, I guess a Falcon, or not Falcon, a Vulture, a tech-based Vulture can exist, right? The math checks out there. I'm trying to think who else fits that bill.
As far as like, I mean, Mysterio,
yeah.
Mysterio was doing a lot of Iron Man type things, in his universe or in his part of the movies. Yeah, there's, I mean, War Machine, like I know he just stole Iron Man's thing, but like you get to see War Machine evolve throughout the next few, next decade, like in very different ways than Iron Man 2, you know what I mean? So you have those, but like I get what your point is, but like I think the cool thing about the MCU, and I know it's easy to speak with hindsight, but like the cool thing about MCU is every promise it makes always has the potential of being answered one day. Do you know what I mean? It might not be at the speed that you'd like it to be, but they have the luxury of a captive audience, right? We are invested at this point now. Even when we crap all over the worst movies, we still come back for the next one. You know what I mean? And so you always have the opportunity to fix something later. So yeah, like I don't mind that we don't have Armor Wars yet, because you know what? It's been on the slate once or twice. I know it's gotten taken off, but like the rumor is they're retooling it again right now to bring it to make it relevant, so we might see it. We might see it one day. In fairness, I believe there was a video game that came out between Iron Man 1 or Iron Man 2, or maybe after Iron Man 2, that is supposed to take place in the same universe. And I believe the Crimson Dynamo.
You mean exists. The game? The Iron Man 2 game?
I think so.
Yeah, like that's not canon.
It's considered MCU.
No.
But it's Crimson Dynamo or Titanium Man, one of the two. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I know it's not canon. I do have the action figure for the Titanium Man.
The weird thing is, I think post Iron Man 2, right? So Iron Man 2, we see him fight Iron Man villains, more or less. It's really the last time. Kind of.
No, Aldrich Killian is an Iron Man villain.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah.
Iron Man 3, those are still Iron Man. The Extremist is an Iron Man story. Like that's
that's definitely an Iron Man thing.
Yeah. No, you're not done. We're not done. The Mandarin is an Iron Man villain.
Yeah, but that wasn't though.
But I'm just saying, like, and now we've gotten a real Mandarin, and how awesome is
we've
he?
gotten yes.
We
got a Wenwu.
Yeah, and he's awesome. So like, the legacy of Iron Man still lives on in this universe, and it's still very, I think there is something to be said about the fact that Mysterio has a lot of visual cues that tie back to Iron Man, and a lot of these characters, you believe their tech works because Iron Man walked us through how he worked, right? You know what I mean? So like you accept a lot more in Iron Man 2 because we did the homework of the first one, right? So like I get to watch Mickey Rourke build his little arc reactor, and I'm like, well, he's got the blueprints right there. Obviously, he's going to know how to make it, and then it's not a leap that, hey, if this guy can make an arc reactor, he can make some weird laser whips, I guess, like it's just, it works. And so I'm not mad at that. Like, I'm not mad that Justin Hammer is somehow inept at making the things that Tony Stark is, like it makes us understand how much of a threat Ivan Vanko is, because Ivan can do these things and Justin Hammer cannot, and so that's why, you have these two characters that have to like team up, or really, one has the resources and one has the knowledge, the know-how. I don't think it hurts this movie that there's two villains. I know that's a critique of this movie, but I don't think Justin Hammer's really the villain. I think he's like almost the comic relief villain, right? Like he's, one's got to die and one's got to go to jail. That's how it works, right? So like, I'm fine with it, and I think if anything, the palladium sickness thing is maybe the kind of the more annoying part of the story. And I do know that this story was originally meant to be an adaptation of Demon in the Bottle, where, Iron Man is struggling with, severe alcoholism. And I know we get little glimpses of it in this movie. We definitely see him partying, like, and pissing himself and going really, really, completely, like, just inappropriately, like, unsafe with that Iron Man suit at a party. But, irresponsible.
My gripe was when this movie first came out that I didn't like it is I could not believe the disbelief in this movie came when he invented a new element. That was like, oh, I didn't realize he's that smart. Is he that smart?
Yeah,
I don't think he was that smart.
But also he's not that smart. His dad invented the new element.
Yes.
And then his dad said, I'm limited by my technology at this time. And I said, I believe that you're the only person that can do this. So yeah, the Starks really are that smart in this universe. Like Howard Stark was the smartest man of their time. And so it's not a stretch that Tony would be one of the smartest people, because, he's clearly demonstrated his ability to build the Iron Man suit in a freaking cave. So if he has, like, just like I said earlier, Ivan had the blueprints for the arc reactor. So like, I'm not even mad that he makes an arc reactor in that movie. You know what I mean? So like, if he has the blueprints for that, and like literally Tony's dad gave him the blueprint for building a new element, I don't see it as Tony discovered a new element. I think he finished his dad's work. You know what I mean? And
That's a way to look at it. Yeah.
That makes it less of a stretch. You know what I mean? Like, is it still weird and silly? Yeah, but it's also an Iron Man movie. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna suspend my disbelief at, for certain parts and not others. Like, we live in this world. It's silly. It's funny at this point. So I don't even know that they named that. Did we get a name for that element? I think we did, right?
No, we just got I will say it gave us the triangle suit, which is my preferred Iron Man arc reactor shape, and we have not seen it since. So
I thought
you
the
have not seen
triangle.
it since.
I thought the triangle's in Avengers. It's not. Are we
Am I
I think the triangle's in Avengers.
It's when he, yes, it is in the first scene in Avengers. Iron Man's kind of tapped out for like most of that movie, up until the battle in New York. Not Tony Stark, but Iron Man.
He's in the beginning of the movie for sure.
Yes. Yeah, he uses it up until the New York battle.
But your point is, we haven't seen the triangle on Iron Man's chest after Avengers.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't know that was a sore spot for you. But like tying it back to Iron Man 2, what are your big problems with this movie? Do you have big problems, or do you, or was this a fun watch for you?
No, it's fun. It, I think like any of his movies, they get better with age, especially knowing what we know now and seeing his journey be completed. Will the stock go down after a Doctor Doom shows up?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know. Does that taint the legacy? Well, it's to be determined. But
What'd
this
you think
is
of Black Widow?
Mm-hmm.
So what'd you think of Black Widow?
She was great. I think again, this movie kind of cracked the door open too on like, oh shit, they got Mickey Rourke up in here. They got ScarJo. I mean, ScarJo stock was not where it was now.
Mickey Rourke stock was quite high at the time.
Yeah. Mickey Rourke was a pretty big get.
It was right after The Wrestler, right? He got an Oscar for The Wrestler. Yeah.
So, you really started to see people like perk their ears or take a look at this movie that wouldn't otherwise,
Yeah.
And is this like post Sherlock Holmes or no?
Yes, because they premiered the trailer for Iron Man 2 on Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah. So you're getting peak RDJ at this point.
I mean, some would argue you got peak RDJ last year with Oppenheimer. So
depends on RDJ.
Or the year before. Yeah.
And RDJ and Oppenheimer would not exist without these movies.
In fairness, though, RDJ during the Oppenheimer press tour, he was a little surprised about his Oscar nomination and eventually win, because he believes that his best work was as Iron Man. Mm-hmm. So I'm not arguing that it's peak RDJ, like I'm just saying some would argue.
Yeah, like it's funny, like you think about it, like if you're an actor, whether you seek it or not, right? There's a point of validation with getting an award like that,
right?
Especially coming from these types of movies.
But I think the point he was making is that it's a shame that Hollywood looks at those movies through different lenses, because he gave it, like, I believe Iron Man, right? He's a person like that. He's a person from beginning to end of his story in that universe. And that's why we feel when he finally does the snap.
It's cool. Like, I don't look, if RDJ wanted to continue playing Iron Man, he would have still been Iron Man at this time. Like, let's be real. The money was not an issue. But yeah, I'm happy that post art movie, side quest, he gets his award, he gets that validation, whether he was seeking it or not. He decides to come back. Is it in a weird, icky way? To be determined.
TBD for sure.
I think that arc will ultimately inspire others to either skip out on that side quests, if they don't think they need it, and maybe, you can put your best effort in these movies and it'll be okay. You know,
Yeah.
you will be recognized for that.
Like his legacy is forever Iron Man. Like whatever else he does in his life and career, like we will always love him for Iron Man. Like I don't think Doctor Doom will take anything away from that. I don't.
Mhm.
Uh, because Iron Man's story is complete until it's not. You know what I mean? But like hopefully, like my words won't come back to bite me in the ass like 20 years from now. But yeah, no, for right now in the year 2025, Iron Man 2 like still sits up there really high on my list because I think it gave me the joy of more Iron Man. It gave me more characters introduced in this universe that are leading us towards an Avengers. We got Black Widow in this movie. I do think her suit is quite dated. I think it's just kind of cheap looking compared to like all her other suits later, right? Like
Yeah, you know,
like it just looks like they got it at like a thrift store or something
I
like
like to
that.
think of like, I mean, I guess Shield did have money at that time, so
Yeah, so that's why I'm trying to understand what's up with the budget Black Widow suit, but like it's good enough. I do think her hair is very dated for the time. I think I loved it back then. I didn't love it as much today, like that when I'm watching it, but I love Scarlett Johansson. I think she brings that extra bit of like intrigue to the story, because like we need to keep something needs to keep us on our toes. So like
mhm.
I appreciate that, like, okay, Iron Man is now the established character in this universe. Let's start surprising people with some other ones. And I don't think Coulson was as charming in this movie as he was in the previous. I do think it was fun to have Nick Fury. Like, we're building out a universe. Like that's what's happening in this movie. And so I understand from the perspective of film reviewers back then being harsh on this movie because they're like, this is how you do a sequel. And if it doesn't follow these steps, you have failed at a sequel. But nobody saw what Marvel was doing. They didn't understand what Marvel was doing back then. And so like hindsight is 2020 because like I love that movie, I think, more now than I did then. And it is quite enjoyable, and it's just another step on the huge path that is Iron Man. And I really like that Senate hearing where you can almost see like the ideas in his head, like that as the senator's talking about like, you can't protect the world. And he's like, can't I? And so he's like, what if I built an Ultron? You know what I mean? Like he's almost there and he doesn't like, you can see the glimmer in his eye.
Mhm.
And it's really cool to know everything that we know. So yeah, I think it's impossible to review this movie the same way I would have back in 2010 because it's awesome now. So like if you ever have the opportunity to rewatch Iron Man 2, or you've never seen Iron Man 2 or Iron Man in the first place, watch them because those movies hold up after all these years. Like that's a 15-year-old movie and it is excellent. I think it's really fun. Is the CG a little heavy-handed? Yeah. Is it a little silly at times? It's Iron Man. What do you want? What do you want, man? It's all silly, So you either love it or you hate it. But like I stand firmly on the love side of this whole movie. Yeah, just wait till we get to Iron Man 3, man.
Yeah. Oh god.
I freaking
Well,
love that movie.
I think that is the perfect place to wrap this up for this week, ladies and gentlemen. Are we doing a Thor next week?
I think we're doing Thor.
They're Kenneth Braga's
Branagh.
Branagh?
Branagh.
Branagh.
Yeah.
Thor.
He
Thank
directed
you.
the post-credit scene of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he? No, he didn't do the one shot though either, right?
No, but I'm saying he directed the post-credit scene that's included in Iron Man 2.
They had the big fucking hole from his movie. He's already there.
Yeah, sure. Yes. Anyways, I'll let you do the outro now. Go for it.
Stay tuned next week for Thor. We'll talk about that, and we'll pick back up on some Spider-Man, see how that show's doing. Until then, true believers. Enough said.
And Harley Quinn.
And Harley.